Well, the Justice and Correctional Services Department is seeking to ensure ex-offenders are employable after rehabilitation. Minister Ronald Lamola says they're looking at a law that will help simplify the process of expunging a criminal record and giving offenders a second chance at life. Well, as it stands, ex-offenders actually do struggle to find jobs despite acquiring skills and education behind bars. Let's discuss this further now. We're joined by comparative criminologist Dr. Casper. Dr. Litter, good morning, and thanks for your time this morning. So let's talk about this, and I suppose many people are going to be a bit concerned or a bit worried about ex-offenders getting back into society, being in their environment. But let's look at it from the other side. What are the difficulties that we see ex-offenders battling with trying to reintegrate into society, especially in the job market?
The biggest hurdle ex-offenders face when they leave prison is lack of employment opportunities. Professor Lucas Munting published a paper quite recently in which he demonstrated quite convincingly that the lack of employment opportunities is the most troublesome hurdle to the reintegration of ex-offenders. But it's not only employment opportunities, it is social ostracization as well. If we, for example, look at a country like China, which is a very good example of a reintegrative society, at the turn of the previous century, they boasted reintegrations, recidivism figures between 6 and 8%, while South Africa, which is a harsh stigmatizing, shaming culture, suffers under reoffending rates of 95%. So reintegration in South Africa is not happening.
Are we seeing this kind of discrimination leveled against all those who have some kind of criminal record, or are we looking at maybe those who've been in prison for serious crimes mostly, whether it is a murder, whether it is rape, or any type of criminal is subject to this kind of treatment?
Any person who leaves prison in South Africa today is subject to harsh stigmatization, irrespective of the crime for which they were sent to prison. And I think one of the problems we have, the minister pointed out that new prisons are envisaged, one in Sanin, one in KZN, but I think that's part of a problem. We have too many prisons. We should have one for every 10 we have at the moment. The problem with imprisonment is that it's a hotbed for criminality. And with imprisonment being our dominant sentencing regime at the moment, that plays very much into this cycle and dynamic of stigma once these people are released from prison. So imprisonment is part of a problem.
So we have the Justice Minister Ronald Lamola saying that they're looking at putting into practice some kind of law in terms of second chances for offenders that will simplify the process. What would you imagine would have to go into such a law? What would it possibly have to state?
Well, let me say firstly that I think the minister's vision is what we need in this country to turn the tide against crime. Two provisions I would like to see in a law like that is, number one, that criminal records are expunged automatically after 10 years if it's for a minor non-violent crime. There shouldn't be a need to apply for it, especially in view of a backlog which the minister himself highlighted. That should be expunged automatically after 10 years. But that's not enough, because despite the opportunities to gain skills and knowledge behind bars, when these people are released from prison, ex-offenders, there are very few opportunities for them. And that is the reason. And it's a perspective known as labeling in criminology.
Okay, we seem to have a problem with Dr. Litter's Skype connection there, but if we get the gist of this and talking about just how South Africans view criminals. Okay, I think we do have him back on there. Dr. Litter, can you hear me now?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, so I just want to know, I mean, would a law like this, would you be able to force someone to hire somebody who's been in prison? What exactly would you be able to do with a law like this? And of course, you have to understand the other side of this as well, is somebody who is wary of somebody offending again and becoming a victim of that person.
No, of course. But I think the most effective instrument would be to criminalize the discrimination against ex-offenders. There's no problem with discriminating against people, provided it's for the right reason. But one shouldn't just discriminate against somebody because of an unexamined prejudice. So my view would be, yes, you can't force somebody to hire ex-offenders, but you can't discriminate against these people unless it's for good reason.
And how
for
do
example, you can't. Yes.
How do you then prove that somebody has been rehabilitated, that somebody will not actually commit such a crime again? Because if I'm somebody, I am an employer, I'm going to want some kind of assurance from somebody other than the person themselves who's come out of prison. Because human nature is we're not going to take that person's word for it. We need somebody else that we would probably want to hold accountable, or somebody who we could go to if something happens.
No, fair enough. That is so. But government needs to take the lead here, and I think the minister's ideas are very well founded. Employ these people in public works, but in China, for example, model ex-offenders have been employed as prison wardens, and with a big backlog and a great number of vacancies in DCS, I think that's an excellent idea. Imagine an ex-offender who's a model prisoner giving guidance to people on the inside. So I think government should take the lead in this. But if we are serious about making interventions in our high rates of reoffending and crime, we need to take radical steps to assist ex-offenders to become reintegrated in our society. And yes, it will take what Zizek calls radical discontinuity. It will take a leap of faith, but that's what needs to be done to enable ex-offenders to be responsibly rehoused and resettled in our communities.
And like you say, Dr. Litter, it will take also a major mindset shift for South Africans, like you say, who are so prone to discrimination. Well, thank you very much. A very interesting subject, a lot to debate there as well. Dr. Casper Litter, he's a comparative criminologist, a very interesting subject. Well, from that one to another interesting one, rape could soon be one of those crimes where one is